right, thank you. Going to go ahead and call this meeting of the Board of Water Resources to order. Today is Thursday, January 25th, 2024, and it's 1 p.m. and we're meeting in the Auditorium of the Department of Natural Resources. I am Juliet Tennert, serving as chair this year, and I represent Salt Lake and Tooele counties, and I'll have my colleagues introduce themselves. Starting with Mike Davis.
Mike Davis of Provo River Drainage.
Charles Holmgren, Bear River Basin.
Kyle Stevens, Weber River Basin.
Blaine Ibsen, Sevier River.
Spencer Jones, Upper Colorado River.
Brian Steed, Great Salt Lake.
Randy Crozier, Green River District.
All right, thank you very much. Excited to welcome Brian Steed to your first official full board meeting. We're really glad to have you. And I will note that Dana Van Horn is excused, although she may join us virtually if she's able to, but let the record show that she's excused. I'll have Director Hassenjager introduce herself and her staff.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With us today, we have Shalane DeBernardi, Todd Stoneley, Marisa Egbert, Ben Marett, Ani Baynard, Russell Hadley, Tom Cox, Ethan Stayner, Brad Caldwell, Jonathan Jennings, Michael Sanchez, Rick Webster, Rachel Shilton, Randy Staker, Shannon Clow taking minutes. Thank you, Shannon. And our awesome AV team is in the back, Seth Majors and Carmen McDonald, that make this all possible. I think I got everyone.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I would just like to thank the board for excusing my absence from the briefing meeting and thank Vice Chair Mike Davis for covering that meeting for us. And let's go ahead and just jump into the agenda. It looks like first we have the approval of minutes. I understand that's probably been reviewed during the briefing meeting. Does anyone have a motion on that?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion. We approve the minutes.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second. All right. We have a second by Kyle Stevens. Probably no need for discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? All right. Thank you. All right, next up, we're excited to hear the NRCS snow report. Got Dave Ericksson here. Welcome, Dave.
So just one sec, Dave. It looks like we're waiting for our screen to come on. So when you see it, oh, there it is. Perfect.
All right, well, thanks for having me. My name is Dave Ericksson. I'm standing in for Jordan Clayton, who is the supervisor at the snow office in Salt Lake City. He's unavailable today, so you get me. So sort of the headline numbers here. This is the current snowpack conditions at Utah SNOTEL sites, broken out by basins. Unfortunately, we're not quite where we were last year at this time. I've already heard that.
Please turn the microphone on.
How about that? Is that better? Okay, sorry. Yeah, so current SNOTEL conditions broken out by basin throughout the state. Not quite as nice as we were last year at this time, but really for much of the state we are above the 30-year normal value. As you can tell here, the southwestern, southeastern corners of the state are lagging behind, and the northeastern Uintas are a little bit behind as well. Obviously, these are early days. This is current data as of midnight. So, if we look at the statewide numbers, sort of shown a little bit differently graphically, sort of an interesting thing when I put this together. We are right at 100% of normal. We are. I've actually never seen that before. We're right there on that green line. So. For anybody not up to speed on these graphs, that green line in the middle is the 30-year normal, and then the shading sort of represents the distribution of outcomes in the past, broken out by percentiles. So we're about halfway to medium peak sweep with about 69 days to go until our historical peak, and we are right on track. You can see in this graph, it's been a real boom and bust sort of season for us. Started pretty slow, had a nice storm in sort of early December, and then a long dry spell, and then we were just coming off of a really nice pattern. And we'll just have to see what happens. We're getting some snow right now, so we'll see tomorrow how that all pans out. Compared to last year, unfortunately, we are just not not doing as well, but that's kind of an unfair benchmark, right? Last year was a record-breaking year. We topped out at about 200% of normal last year statewide. So it was really a sort of a 2-for-1 kind of snow accumulation season. So that was awfully exciting, but it's not quite as good this year. But we are right on track with what's normal. Here's some projections for what might end up happening throughout the rest of the year. These are sort of interesting graphs. You can see the black line is the current conditions up till now, and then from there we have a range of possible outcomes that are generated from our historical snow-tell records. So you can think of, if we have a way above average snow accumulation season from here on out, we might end up on that upper line. If we have a way below average, we'll end up on that lower line. But more likely, we'll end up on one of those green lines right there in the middle. And, using this approach, our most probable max statewide snow water equivalent is about 15 inches statewide on April 3rd. And that would put us at about 94% of normal. So a lot can happen between now and then, but this is just a shot at giving an indication of the direction that we're headed. Here's a precipitation map and graph, very much similar to our snowpack information. This is showing liquid and solid precipitation, though, whereas the snowpack numbers are only showing snow. These will show all of our water accumulation throughout the season to date, and this puts us about 95% of normal. Patterns on the map are very similar to the patterns on the snow map. Generally speaking, northern Utah is in a little bit better shape from a precipitation standpoint than southern Utah. And again, these are percent of normal values on this map. So, we had an excellent January. This is January precipitation, so January 1 through last night at midnight. Really well above 150% pretty much throughout the entire the state, with the exception of the Tooele. So we're happy to see that, and this is really what got us back into that normal range was our excellent round of storms in January. Soil moisture is right around normal. This is the same sort of graph as the other ones I was showing, where the green is the 30-year normal, and the black is our current conditions. So this is. Right in line with what we've seen historically with soil moisture at this point in the season. Reservoir levels statewide as of January 1st, so we're a little bit outdated right now, but we can see just some comparisons from where we were last year at this time, last year on January 1st versus this year on January 1st, and it's probably no surprise our reservoirs are much fuller this year than they were last year this time, owing to the exceptional snow water accumulation season last year. Here are some stream flow forecasts. These were published based on January 1st data, and this is for our April to July flows, and we're showing the 50% exceedance probability forecast shown here as a percent of the period of record average. So April to July flows, and this is percent of normal, basically shown here. This is a little bit tricky this time of year for a couple of reasons. One, this is based on our January 1st data, and on January 1st we were in a much lower snowpack accumulation state at that point. Our excellent January has really helped this. We will be putting out a new batch of forecasts here at the beginning of February, and then beginning of March, and then the beginning of April. So there's much more of this to come, but this is where we were on January 1st. You can see the northern part of the state. We are right around normal average water supply forecast. Uintah's down around 70-80%, and southern Utah 70-80%, maybe even a little bit lower in some areas. These January 1 forecasts are a little bit problematic just because it is so early in the season. There's a lot of snow accumulation time ahead of us, and I mean, as we've seen, we're in a much better spot now than we were when these forecasts were published. So keep an eye on our reports coming out near the first of every month during the snow accumulation season, And we'll keep updating these and giving you the best information we can. This is a water supply, surface water supply index that we calculate and publish in our water supply outlook reports. This is a combination of our reservoir storage numbers and our April to July forecast volumes, sort of combined into one to give a sort of a holistic picture of how much water is currently in reservoirs and how much water do we think is coming down the mountains in April to July. So the thing to focus on here is this box that I highlighted in red, which is just showing us percentile, sort of where we are compared to the last 20, 30 years or so of data that we've collected. Across the board, we're in the 50, 60% percentile with the exception of Farron Creek and the lower Sevier. This is from the Weather Service, just an idea of sort of what's coming near normal temperatures for most of Utah. A little bit below for the southwestern corner and the western portions, and things are looking potentially positive from NOAA with above average precipitation forecasted for Utah over the next from the 8 to 14 day range. So happy to try and answer any questions if you have them.
Thanks for that thorough report. We always appreciate looking at the data.
Of course.
Appreciate you coming out to share those data with us. Are there questions? Word? All right. Well, as always, thank you, and we'll look forward to more of the good data.
All right. Well, hopefully we get some more snow.
That's right. Great. Thank you. Okay, let's go ahead and move into projects. I do want to note that, as always, we have a public comment period where folks can submit written public comment. That ended yesterday at noon, I believe. And just for the minutes, just want to note that we have not received any virtual written public comment on the agenda items for this meeting. I do understand that we have some attendees that would like to make public comment, and we'll hold that for the end of the meeting, but there was no electronic public comment received. So let's go ahead and move into the feasibility report, RE 475. Looks like, Russell, you're going to present this project to us. Hyrum Blacksmith Fork Irrigation Company.
Okay. Madam Chair and members of the board, the proposed project is located east and northeast of Hyrum in Cache County. The applicant serves, should we make sure our folks are online here first?
Oh, yeah. Let's do that.
There's the France and Civil.
Okay, you got them?
Do you want to have them introduce themselves?
Yeah, could we just for the record, would those attendees for this project please introduce yourselves?
Yeah.
Larry Peterson, I'm president of Hyrum Blacksmith Fork Irrigation Company.
Wilson Hume, I'm the ditch master of the Blacksmith Fork Irrigation Company.
Rod Garner, member of the board of the Blacksmith Fork Irrigation Company.
Brandon Parker, a board member. Chad Brown with Francis Civil Engineers. And I'm Carl Withers, also with Francis Civil Engineers.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. And we can see you now. Thank you for joining us virtually. Appreciate that you're here. Go ahead, Russell.
We got a full house. Glad you guys could make it. Okay, the applicant serves agricultural water to 88 shareholders, irrigating approximately 2,130 acres. Water is delivered through an unlined canal and a canal that has been piped with water diverted from the Blacksmith Fork River. One share is equivalent to 6 acre-feet, and annual assessments are $65 a share for a single share and $45 a share for multiple shares. While the company does not have a secondary irrigation system, a few of the agricultural irrigators also irrigate their lawns with small pumps placed in the ditch. The applicant has never received funding from the board before. The applicant's unlined canals leak substantially, and it has a lot of brush and tree growth on the banks, which makes it difficult to maintain. It is estimated that about 1,300 acre-feet of water is lost to seepage and plant growth along the canal. In some areas, the canal is built on a hillside, which causes safety concerns because there are homes located beneath the canal. There's also a dairy below the canal. In addition, the diversion structure on the Blacksmith Fork River is deteriorating and needs to be replaced. Here's a few photos of their existing system. Okay, this is their existing diversion, and it's got 3 gates on it. One of the gates is broken, but I lost a couple of pictures here that showed more of the deterioration. Okay, this is their canal from the diversion coming down. You can see some of those huge trees they have. They've got some 4 or 5 foot diameter trees that are going to have to be taken out. They've got dead trees falling all across the ditch and in the ditch. Okay, this is the lower pipeline is going to start right below this point, and this section of the upper canal is going to just stay open for the moment. This is just kind of showing you some of the problems they're going to have to deal with these pipelines and with this future canal. You can see somebody built a driveway across their canal. They've got their garage built right next to the canal, and the fellow who lives here uses this section of canal for his fishing hole. So, okay, this is where the lower canal will start. There will also be a gate placed here, a diversion gate. This is the splitter, and the lower pipeline will start there. And that's a picture of the lower canal. Okay, the applicant is requesting financial assistance from the board to replace sections of the unlined canal with about 2,200 feet of pipe and install a new diversion structure with 3 head gates. It's actually going to be 2 head gates replaced, and then that 3rd head gate is going to go here at this diversion, at this splitter. The sections to be piped experience the highest seepage losses and are difficult to maintain. The applicant plans to pipe the remaining unlined section in the future. The project will reduce seepage and evaporation from the open unlined canals, increase public safety, and reduce maintenance on the problem areas of the canal. The company expects to have an increased yield on their varying crops due to the increase in water available for the irrigating from the reduced seepage and reduced operation and maintenance costs. As shown in the cost is estimated to be $460,000. The recommended cost sharing and repayment are Board of Water Resources providing $228,000. The Department of Agriculture and Food will provide an agricultural optimization grant of $191,750, and the applicant will supply $40,250 for a total project cost of $460,000. And the optimization grant has been awarded, so that's been taken care of. Staff recommends the board authorize 49.6% of the project cost, up to $228,000, and that the project be purchased at 0% interest over 15 years with annual payments of approximately $15,200. That is staff's report.
Great, thank you, Russell. Before we go to questions, just want to give the opportunity to the representatives of the project to provide any comment that they'd like. But before I do that, I just go to Charles really quickly. I know this is in your area. Is there any comment that you'd like to provide?
Madam Chair, it looks like an extremely worthwhile project. Their entire board is incredibly involved, both at the investigation meeting and in today's meeting. It's good to see all that participation. I just have a quick question as to the discussion that Russell made about the fishing hole. Are those folks aware of the plans for the irrigation company to enclose that section of the canal, and these folks will lose their fishing hole?
Yes, there has been discussions with the property owners along the canal. Want to even say that gentleman came out the day we did our site visit, and there was discussions with him that day when Russell looked at the project with us.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Gentlemen, would you like to provide any other information or share anything with the board?
Yeah, is there anything that you want to add to Claire or questions?
No.
Okay.
Okay, we appreciate that.
I really appreciate your considering this project for us. And I think it's been very well designed. We're looking forward to what the results of this meeting is. So we hope it's favorable. So thank you.
Excellent, thank you. To the board, are there any additional questions to the applicants or for Russell? Okay, sounds like it might be time for a motion then.
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion that the board authorize 49.6% of the project cost up to $228,000, and that the project be purchased at 0% interest over 15 years with annual payments of approximately $15,200.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion by Charles Holmgren, seconded by Randy Crozier. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Are there any opposed? All right, that application has been approved. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Let's go ahead and move on to the committal of funds. It looks like we have RE468 Liberty Pipeline Company. And as Ani's coming up, I believe that we have Nathan Smith with JUB Engineers representing the project. Is that correct?
It may not be. We have 2 Smiths and 1 Smith online.
Okay. Is there anyone else participating online that is affiliated with the Liberty Pipeline Company? Okay, yeah, so we'll just note that at the committal of funds point of the process, that participants are not required to attend the meeting, so I'll go ahead and turn the time over to Ani.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. As you know, the trim down project was reauthorized at the December board meeting, and we're here today to commit funds for the project. The project will include constructing a building with a booster pump station and a meeting room, and the installation of about 2 miles of an 8-inch transmission pipeline. The transmission pipeline will connect the north and south zones for the overall system to be drought resilient. The cost estimate and sharing remain as reauthorized, and so the staff recommends the board commit 27.2% of the project cost, up to $1 million, and the project be purchased at 0% interest over 20 years with annual payments of approximately $50,000. That is staff's report.
Thank you. Kyle, this is in your area. Do you have any information you'd like to share?
Not at this point. I'll just be ready to make a motion when that's appropriate.
Excellent, thank you. Are there any questions? All right, I think we're ready then for that motion.
Okay, then I would like to make the motion, and that is that the board commit 27.2% of the project cost up to $1 million, and that the project be purchased at 0% interest over 20 years with annual payments of approximately $50,000.
Great, thank you.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion by Kyle Stevens, seconded by Mike Davis. Any discussion to that motion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? All right. Motion passes and that committal of funds is approved. Moving on into special items, and as we're doing that, I will just make note to those that are participating virtually, and actually those who are here today, just want to remind you that we do hold a briefing meeting before this meeting where we take action, where we do discuss these items and other things in detail, and so just want to remind everyone that we have the briefing meeting usually the morning before a board meeting, and great information to be found there if you're ever interested. Okay, so let's go ahead and go into special items. First, we have RC 023, the Consolidated Sevier Bridge project. And it looks like we may have Jared Smith, president for Delta Canal Company, with us online. Is that true?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Smith. Is there anyone else present representing this project? Right?
Not that I know of.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for being with us. I'll go ahead and turn the time over to Tom to brief us on this.
Madam Chair, members of the board, the Consolidated Sevier Bridge Reservoir Company owns and operates the Sevier Bridge Dam. It's more commonly known as Juab Dam. There's a state park there. You've probably seen the signs as you head down I-15. The dam was originally constructed in the early 1900s and enlarged in about 1916, and its current capacity is around 235,000 acre feet. It is a high hazard dam rated by the state engineer's office, and was in need of dam safety minimum standards upgrades. Phase 1 of the project was completed in 2004, and because there wasn't enough state funds available at that time, they had to break it up into a phase project. So phase 2, the board committed funds about a year ago towards a project that mainly included removing and replacing the spillway, constructing an additional auxiliary spillway, doing foundation improvements, building a stability berm, and installing some tow drains. That construction is nearly complete, and as we look towards the end of the project and the cost, it was decided that the original project cost of $26 million was not enough to cover all the expenses. Towards the end of the project, the final design of the auxiliary spillway was completed because it's kind of away from the main dam, and the focus had been on the bringing the main dam up to upgrade. The applicant is donating some materials, and it was towards the end of the project where a value was given towards that donated material, and there have been some change orders throughout the process. So the project cost now looks like it's going to be closer to $27 million. So the company is requesting additional dam safety grant funds to complete the project. The cost sharing has always been 90% of the grant. The original part was 10% loan from Water Resources, but the proposed cost sharing now, the dam safety grant is still remaining at 90% cost share, but because of the donated materials, there is not any additional loan money that's needed. So today, the company is requesting the board commit an additional $900,000 in dam safety grant funds, and that the contract be amended to state that the board will provide 90% of the project cost up to $24,300,000 as a dam safety grant. And that's staff's report.
Great, thank you for that report. Blaine, this is in your area. Would you like to provide any insight on this before I go to Mr. Smith?
Yes, this is in my area, and this has been a big project. It's a project that's been going on, like Tom said. We thought the 2004 project was a big project, and it was. They replaced the outlet tunnel and did a bunch of stability on the upstream face, and we thought, wow, the downstream's left, that's going to be a piece of cake. With inflation and everything else, this has been a big project. I've gone up several times, and I've been very impressed with the quality of the work, and very appreciative of the support. Tom's been fantastic to work with, and appreciate Tom and the project engineers and the contractor. It's just been a good project. So I thank the board for the support we've received in this. I just make mention that I am a stockholder in 4 out of the 5 companies that make up Consolidated Sevier Bridge Reservoir Company, and so I will refrain from making any motions or voting.
Okay, thank you for those comments and noting that you'll refrain from making a motion or voting. We'll put that into the record. Just from the applicant, do you have any comments that or information that you'd like to share with the board?
Yeah, Madam Chair and board members, just representing the Consolidated Bridge Reservoir, we just want you to know that we appreciate a great deal your support and your funding of this project. I echo the things that Blaine has said. This is a project that's gone on for a long time, but it is an awesome project to be on the tail end of. And as Blaine said, it's a very professional, very neat spillway and project coming to an end. So we just want to thank you for your support and just ask for your continued support with the remaining part of this so we can be done with it. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Does the board have any questions or further comment?
Madam Chair, just a quick question. What's your anticipated construction schedule or completion date, or do you have one yet?
I don't have one exactly, but it's coming to the close. They need to do some work on the north end of it's called the North Spillway. The main spillway construction is all just wrapping up right now. So there's just an additional part of that should be finished, I would guess, in early spring. So we're anticipating that it's going to finish in time to be able to store water and to have just a regular water year, if we can have a regular water year anymore. But so yeah, it's I don't know an exact date, but it's shortly.
The exact dates have gone from the end of December to for sure mid-January. Well, the 1st of February, you bet it's going to be done. Now we hope within a few weeks. So soon.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Be looking for a motion if not.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that the board commit an additional $900,000 in dam safety grant funds, and that the contract be amended to state the board will approve 90% of the project cost up to $24,300,000 as a dam safety grant.
Great, thank you. Is there a second? All right, seconded by Kyle Stevens. Any discussion to the motion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Are there any opposed? All right, we'll rule that additional request for safety grant funds has been approved. Thank you.
Thanks, Jared.
Yep, thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, let's go ahead and move on. I think we can probably just take all of these next withdrawals together. So we have RE453, RE Huntsville South Bench Canal Company, RE316 Uintah Water Conservancy District, and RE369 Box Elder and Perry Flood Control withdrawals. I don't know, do we need any information requested? Okay, it sounds like we could just look for a motion to withdraw those 3 items.
Madam Chairman, I'd be happy to make that motion.
Great.
I move that the board withdraw the following 3 projects. Huntsville South Bench Canal Company, RE453, Uintah Water Conservancy District, RE316, Box Elder County and Perry City Flood Control District, RE369, from further consideration by the board.
All right, thank you for that motion. Is there a second? Second. All right, seconded by Mike Davis. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? All right, those items have been withdrawn. Thank you. We have a new application, King Irrigation Company, that's RE476. Are we just noting that, or do we take information? Okay, so just note that new application is here, and we'll look for further information, and we appreciate Ethan taking that project on for us. Let's go ahead and move into our next item, information items from here on out. Integrating water into general planning. I understand that Rick Webster will be providing this briefing for us. Thanks, Rick.
Light screen.
Okay, thank you. It's been quite a while since I presented to the board, and I appreciate the opportunity to do so. My name is Rick Webster. I work for the River Basin Planning Section, and my current assignment is to work with municipalities and counties with integrating water and land use planning. I work closely with Haley Kierlin, who I believe you met this morning. All right, so why are we integrating water and land use planning? In the past, these two, land and water, have been siloed. And so the city develops a general plan, they go in, they plan for growth, then they go to the water employees and say, hey, we need water to these people, can you get it there? Well, it's a siloed approach, and it has led to efficiencies in the development process. But if we integrate water and land use planning, we can empower those communities to improve water efficiency within their own context, and including aesthetics, so they can make it their own culture, mainly because every community is different. Now, it also will help increase resiliency to drought, and now is the time, because more and more resources, support, technical expertise, and assistance is being made available. Legislative action in 2022 and 2023, Senate Bills 110 and Senate Bill 76 were passed, and they both included water to the general plan water use and preservation element to be included. These are now in municipal code, or in the Utah code, listed there. So who does it, who has to deal with it? All counties and municipalities except those of the 5th class or towns, and it needs to be adopted by December 31st, 2025. In drafting the element, the Planning Commission shall address 4 areas. The first area is effective development on land and on water demand. Then they ask the Planning Commission to look at the how to reduce water, not just for current citizens, but for future citizens. And then they want the Planning Commission to address how to get their own house in order, how to improve efficiencies within their own operations. The legislation also asks that the Planning Commission shall consult with Division, or with the Drinking Water System to be a partner. Division of Water Resources, we will provide technical assistance when it comes to the regional water conservation goals, and if they're in the Great Salt Lake Basin, we will discuss how water saved will make it to the Great Salt Lake. Department of Food and Ag and Food for agricultural protection areas within the municipality. Division of Drinking Water should be consulted on source protection and storage size, and then any canal and/or irrigation companies within their area. They need to consider regional conservation goals if the municipality has a water conservation plan, ideas of sustainable landscaping, and agricultural protection areas within the municipality. Then they ask the Planning Commission to review their current land use ordinances, and then they want several recommendations. They want recommendations on water conservation policies to be determined by the municipality, street landscaping options, additional water demand reduction strategies, low water use landscaping standards, and changes to any ordinance that promotes the inefficient use of water. So, one of the ways that we provide technical assistance is through Growing Water Smart in Utah. This program was developed, this is a pilot program currently, and it was to run from winter 2022 to summer 2024. Now, the primary responsibilities of the Growing Water Smart workshops was to develop a curriculum, and then we were tasked with holding at least 2 stakeholder workshops, and these workshops would bring together 5 to 7 community teams per workshop, and then we would provide, over the next year, technical assistance to help them implement their plans. The members of the team are the Center for Water Efficient Landscaping out of Utah State, the Babbitt Center for Land and Water Policy, Western Resource Advocates, and of course, Water Resources. Now, Growing Water Smart. In this workshop, we bring together key community staff and decision makers on both water and land use planning to work together. It's kind of nice when they don't even know each other's names. Have a meet and greet, they get together, and they learn that their community can work together to build a more resilient and sustainable water future. So far, we've held We were supposed to hold 2. We've done 3. 51 communities in total. Over 225 people participated. And each team created an action plan along with a timeline that they took back to their communities. I heard earlier that there was a question about the guidebooks being available. They are available on USU's Center for Water Efficient Landscaping website. If you're interested, each one of these guidebooks is made specifically for the participants for each workshop. They contain ideas, model ordinances, studies to help them get a better picture on what they can do. Okay, so why would you want to go to a Water Smart workshop? Well, one of the things you can get out of it is the insight into current water and land use planning and programs. The program will help you identify strategies and tools to integrate water and land use planning at the local level. It will help you develop clear and concise language to communicate goals, gives you a framework for collaboration. You come out with a detailed action plan, and it creates a peer-to-peer network. We've had talked to people, and the teams that came are still meeting together. So, the format of the workshop. This workshop is not for the lighthearted. It's 3 days, and it's very intensive. It requires a lot of participation and a lot of focus. Day 1, the groups get together and they set a workshop intention. What are they there for? They also build rapport, meet each other, get to know each other. Day 2, they have peer-to-peer roundtables and team breakouts. And day 3, they finalize the action plan, and then they present the action plan to the rest of the participants. So the actual curriculum looks something similar to this. There are 6 sessions in which the members, the participants, will get together, and they will go through each one of these sessions with the theme. So the first one's getting to know you. They set a workshop intention. By the end, they're creating an action plan to take back. And then within each session, they address planning, setting the stage, how they're going to accomplish. Now, this is a picture of an actual working group. They have, every group is assigned a facilitator that is an expert in integrated planning. And day 1, it's a lot like taking 2 misreally kids, putting them in a door and shutting it. So you can't come out until you can get along. By day 3, they're camaraderie. There's a lot of acceptance and understanding because they get to see things from other people's point of view. In the participants, we've had mayors, councilmen, city staff, county commissioners. All these people are brought together to try to solve a problem and to learn how to integrate water into their land planning. Now, on the board next to her, you'll see there's a lot of little sticky notes. Every small sticky note is a comment, idea, thought, or something from one of the participants. The rule is everybody participates. So, and then on the wall behind, all of those large sticky notes are concepts, ideas, and ways that they bring it back to so they can formulate their general plan. So after the workshop, we don't just give them the workshop and then set them loose. They're actually checked in on in 3 months and 6 months and then after a year. They can apply for grants for technical assistance. And then that technical assistance would include the updating of landscape regulations, incorporating water efficiency into the general plan, adopting standards, and land use ordinance red lines and updates. We give them access to planning books. These were created by Western Resource Advocate for urban planning, and they include the Water Smart guidebook for the current session. We do have a 4th session scheduled in May for northern Utah. So we're actually doing, trying to go above and beyond the original idea. My information, right there, Haley. It's been a pleasure to present this information to you.
Are there any questions that I can pass on to someone else?
Very good. Rick, thank you so much. Great information, and then obviously the great work that you're supporting. Yeah, are there questions or comments? Do you have, so you have that May, I don't know what we call it, like planning session?
Workshop.
Yeah, workshop scheduled at Northern Utah. Do you know exactly where yet, or?
I believe it's somewhere in Weber.
Okay, yeah.
area.
Yeah, well, maybe
I believe
keep-
Weber Basin Conservancy District is
Great.
partnering with us on it.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Well, keep us in the loop on that. I think I actually remember seeing invitations and I couldn't make any of them work, but we appreciate you inviting us to those, and it's just really great work that you're doing, and we know where to find you if we have further questions.
Thank you. And if you're interested in showing up, we'll let you know when one's in your area. If you're interested, please come. I think you'll be impressed with the work that's being done. Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Okay. Oh, wait, we do actually have one more action item that we need to deal with. The Bear River Development right of way got some updates, and then we do need to take action on this item. I understand, Marisa, you'll be presenting this information to us.
And I don't have anything to put on the screen, but you've got in your board folder, you've got the Bear River Development Planning Right-of-Way Acquisition Update. We discussed this some in the briefing meeting. I'll just go ahead and read from this. There has been an update already since this was produced, so I will add that in here. So this, I want to give the legislative summary first. The Bear River Development Act, Utah Code 73-26 and 10, I'm not going to give you all that. The Bear River Development Act defines, quote, acquisition of land and right-of-way, unquote, as a, quote, pre-construction cost, unquote. Further in the act, it indicates that, quote, the division may make expenditures for pre-construction costs if money is expressly appropriated or earmarked by statute for that purpose by the legislature. And now about the activities and updates that are going on right now. 3 properties with houses were purchased as part of a potential right-of-way corridor. These properties are no longer in the potential prioritized right-of-way. We had discussions with the Utah Division of Parks about purchasing the properties for the Willard Bay State Park staff. However, they do not have the funding to purchase the properties. And then in here it says we plan to have further discussions with other agencies to see if there's any interest in leasing the properties for their staff. And I was able to have a conversation with Interim Director Scott Strong 2 days ago, and talking to him, they are very interested in potentially leasing those houses from us. So it would stay, the board would keep, well, it's a division, I don't know if it's the division or the board. It would stay in the name of the division. The property. And then it says this would include them paying all the cost of maintenance, management of the properties, yard care, utilities, remodeling, appliances, furnitures, etc. In the absence of, and then I have in the absence of another agency. So in the absence of Parks or another agency leasing or purchasing the properties, staff recommends selling the homes on the open market. And I just want to add that I did send information to Parks, both their regional manager, Northern Regional Manager, and Interim Director Scott Strong, regarding the 2 houses. I also sent them, they are already leasing one house, a different house from us, and they have 2 different families, one upstairs, one downstairs. We have a memorandum of understanding that we did with them, and it talks about even more of the cost of maintenance management. It gives it even longer, no pun intended, laundry list of those things. So we're not paying utilities anymore. We wouldn't pay utilities, yard work, cleanup, broken windows, some of the fun things that have already happened. They would take care of that. Therefore, staff recommendation is that the board approve the selling of the properties on the open market, barring another agency leasing or purchasing the properties. And that's staff's report.
Thank you, Marisa. I understand this was discussed during the briefing meeting, but are there any questions or comments? All right, go ahead, Kyle.
I do have a question. I should have thought of this earlier, but as those other agencies are providing housing for their staff, are they requiring their staff to pay rent? And if so, where does that money go?
I believe they do. I'm not, well, okay. I'm looking at a former director from the Department of Natural Resources. I don't know if there's a rent allowance or something. Yeah.
There sometimes is, and it depends on the state park, but oftentimes that's considered part of their compensation.
Okay.
Yeah. And there was a question actually earlier, if I may. Blaine Ibsen asked about insurance, and in that memorandum of understanding, it states that they will need to get their own insurance, typically through Department of Risk Management, and possibly even another one, and that those that live there need to buy their own insurance for their own personal property. So that is outlined in the memorandum of understanding.
Okay, thank you. Charles, did you have a question?
No, I'm just prepared to make the motion, Madam Chair.
Are there any other questions? All right, Charles.
Madam Chairwoman, I move the board approve the selling of the properties on the open market, barring another agency leasing or purchasing the properties.
Thank you. Is there a second? All right, seconded by Brian Steed. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Are there any opposed? All right, that motion passes. Thank you.
Madam Chair, and if I could, I didn't think about this before, but we are still working on the information we talked about, the rule about selling to another agency rather than the open market. We are still working on that, and that's something that I believe has started in the rule process.
I think now if I'm remembering though, aren't we required to have a rule around that?
I know it's going through a comment process.
Shalene's going to.
Sorry, my last conversation with Liz Harris was that the discussion from the board in the October meeting was that you'd rather just have a staff policy.
That's right.
That's what we do, that it doesn't need to be made an official rule, that it just needs to be a staff policy.
Okay, that's right. I remembered it was something.
Yeah.
And that goes through comments?
I'm not sure. No, she reached out to me and asked where we could put that so that staff would know that that was our policy as we work with them.
Why don't we have a check-in on that in our next meeting? We can just deal with it in the briefing, but
perfect.
It's a good update. Great. All right. Thank you, Shalene. Thank you, Marissa. All right. As I mentioned at the very end of our meeting, we will go ahead and take public comment. But before we do that, we'd like to turn the time over to Director Hassenjager for her report.
Okay. Good afternoon. Thank you, Madam Chair. It's crazy that this is just having a more normal board meeting agenda. We actually moved through it pretty quickly. So I will try to keep moving it along. As you all know, we're in the thick of the legislative session, even though it's only the second week. It feels like maybe the fourth or fifth. On Monday, actually, at the Natural Resource Ag and Environment Appropriations Committee, I was able to present for water resources and got to share all the cool things that our office and the board is worked on over the last year. We did create a document called Water for Utah, which I'll email out to all of you, that kind of summarizes all the highlights. And then there are a number of bills that may impact us or the board, us being Water Resources and the board, particularly, and we had pretty good discussions on it, is HB 280, called Water-Related Changes by Representative Snyder. There was also a couple other bills we discussed that may impact the legislation, the statute around secondary metering requirements. So we had pretty good discussions in the briefing meeting about that. There are just a couple other bills that I might highlight. One is Representative, this is flipping around a lot on me. Representative Ballard has a bill to study the water usage in schools that we would be responsible to do. There's also a HB 243 riparian amendments by Representative Gabe Benyon, looking to, similar to what Rick described as part of Water for the General Plan, but have a riparian review as part of the general plan and how to protect riparian areas within municipal and county general plans. And then there's more that could impact us, but it's a long list, and you were able to have a copy of them. So if you have any additional questions on those, happy to discuss them further. And then just as an update, our 2022 water budget run. So this is a model that looks at the whole state, all the ins and the outs of where the water flows and goes and gets used, has been completed. So that is available on our open data website. We have some pretty exciting news as part of our Great Salt Lake Basin Integrated Plan. We were able to release a draft work plan in November of last year, and then we had it open for just over a 45-day public comment period, which ended January 8th. And so now we are on to finalizing that plan so we can implement it as we work over the next few years. In addition to that, we've been coordinating closely with the Great Salt Lake Commissioner's Office on their just very recent release of the strategic plan around Great Salt Lake and how the Great Salt Lake Basin Integrated Plan fits into that. So we're doing work that's benefiting the Great Salt Lake Commissioner's Office as well as the Great Salt Lake Basin in general. As you guys all know, there was a lawsuit filed on Great Salt Lake by Utah Physicians for a Healthy Environment, American Bird Conservancy, Center for Biological Diversity, Sierra Club, and Utah's Rivers Council on September 6, 2023 in the 3rd Judicial District Court of Utah. And it was filed against the Department of Natural Resources, Division of Water Rights, and the Division of Forestry, Fire, and State Lands. To this point, we did have discussions at our previous board meetings about the Board of Water Resources intervening in that case. We still have plenty of time to do that. We haven't done that yet because there was a motion to dismiss that was filed by the Department of Natural Resources, Water Rights, and Forestry, Fire, and State Lands. It's my understanding that the plaintiffs have until March to comment or respond to that motion to dismiss. So we did, the attorneys did give them time to, I guess that's kind of the process, that give them time to respond to the motion to dismiss. So we will see where it goes, but we still have time to intervene. The board will still have time to intervene in between that if necessary, or if the court accepts our motion dismissed, that could happen as well too. As far as watershed councils, this has been a pretty big effort over the last several years. So as you guys all know, we've established the State Watershed Council, all the watershed councils within the Great Salt Lake Basin, so Bear, Weber, the Jordan, and the West Desert. And just a week and a half ago, Canal Creek, Virgin River, and Sevier watershed councils were formed. Oh, and also Uintah was already formed too. So we have got all of these getting formed up. We just have, I think, a few left in the state, so that's pretty exciting. It looks like we have 4 left, Cedar Beaver, West Colorado River, and Southeast Colorado River, and also Great Salt Lake. My understanding is there might be some changes to the Watershed Council Act for the Great Salt Lake Watershed Council, but we'll see what the legislative session brings us on that one. As far as the Colorado River, as you guys know, there are lots of negotiations continuing on for the post-2026 negotiations. My understanding is the 7 basin states are working to get a consensus alternative by March 10th, which is not that far away. So there's a lot to do in between now and then. But Commissioner Gene Shawcroft and the Colorado River Authority are working very diligently to participate in those meetings and represent Utah well. So that's pretty much the update I have for you. Happy to answer any questions or if there's anything else you guys want highlighted.
Thank you. Very thorough report. We appreciate the information. Questions? Kyle, go ahead.
Yeah, Madam Chair, just a question on legislation, and we had some discussion, quite a bit of discussion on House Bill 280 and Representative Snyder, but I just noticed House Bill 275, Representative Snyder as well, water amendments, and this may get to one of the questions that at least I had. The bill clarifies who is eligible for grant money for water conservation efforts other than secondary water metering. What impact is that?
Yeah, so that is one of the bills that Marisa referenced, and apologize, we didn't get you the number, but it changes, so it doesn't change who's exempt, but it changes those that if they are exempt, that they can apply to the board to keep, to use the money that you've already authorized for another water conservation purpose.
Okay.
Yeah.
Question. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. I know that oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it looks like the person who we thought was gonna make a public comment didn't show up.
Oh, okay. Well, like I said, I was going, I mean, it's not on the agenda, but out of respect for someone, if they had shown up, I was going to allow public comment, but it sounds like that person is not here, so would be looking for that final motion. All right. I don't know that there's any, do we need a second? No. All right. I say that we stand adjourned. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.